Hello students, I'm Karishma ma'am. In this class, we are going to learn about moral science or moral values. Moral education means an ethical education to follow the good and right principles of life. It consists of some basic principles like truthfulness, honesty, hospitality, tolerance, love, kindness, and sympathy. Moral education makes one perfect education. It's not aimed at obtaining only degree. Moral values are basically the principles that guide our life in the righteous path and do not allow us to do any harm to others. So in this video, we are going to start the second chapter of moral science, that is, hear your inner voice. Sometimes you find that your mind says one thing and your soul says something else at the same time. The voice of your soul or inner voice never misguides you. It is always ready to give you the correct verdict. The voice of your soul or inner voice is called conscience. You should always try to follow your conscience. God has gifted us with mind and soul. Our brain controls all our body parts. It also acts as per the effect of the surroundings. It always acts to make us feel pleasure without giving us any opportunity to differentiate between wrong and right. It is always ready to fulfill our physical requirements. But the inner voice is always ready to give us an opportunity to differentiate between good and bad. That is why it is also called the voice of God. But it depends on us whether we hear the voice of our soul and act accordingly or follow our mind. If we neglect the voice of conscience for a long time, then it will fail to come us. It means that the person has become very hard-headed and hence he always does wrong things without caring for anyone. If we want to be a good person, we should always try to hear the voice of our conscience, which will keep us away from evil deeds. So let us learn it with by a small story. Once there was a powerful king in Scotland named Duncan. His kind-heartedness and intelligence made him popular among his subjects. One of his ablest generals was his own cousin. His name was Macbeth. The king trusted him so much that the whole army was under Macbeth. He often visited Macbeth Palace, where the general and his wife entertained the royal family. Lady Macbeth was an ambitious woman. She often thought, my husband fights all the battles while the king enjoys himself in the palace. My husband would be a better king than Duncan. My husband Macbeth becomes the king, I would be the queen of the Scotland. She started motivating her husband with the idea of becoming the king of Scotland. But her husband refused to listen to her idea at first. Nevertheless, Lady Macbeth kept him convincing. Finally, Macbeth realized that the idea of becoming king was worthy of consideration. How can I become the king as long as Duncan is alive? He asked his wife. You will have to find a way to get rid of him, she replied. One day, King Duncan was returning after a battle with the English. It was sunset and the king was very tired. Macbeth requested him to stay in his castle nearby for the night. The tired king agreed to his proposal. Lady Macbeth welcomed the king warmly and served him delicious food. After having dinner, the king was led to a room where he slept soundly. Lady Macbeth took her husband in the room and said, God has given us great opportunity to get rid of the king. He is sleeping soundly and there is no guard at his door. Kill the king in his sleep. You should not lose this golden opportunity. How can I kill my king, who has great faith in me? Moreover, he is our guest tonight, said Macbeth. Lady Macbeth replied quickly, why don't you try to understand? Don't hesitate to kill him at least for my sake. Scotland would be proud to have us both as rulers. Kill him immediately, otherwise you will lose this golden opportunity. She, she then gave a dagger to her husband. Unwillingly, Macbeth took the dagger and moved towards the room of the king. Lady Macbeth followed him. Macbeth stood at the beside of the king. He took a deep breath and stabbed the dagger into the heart of the king. In no time, the king lay dead on the bed. Some blood sprinkled on the garments of Macbeth and on the hands of Lady Macbeth. In this way, Macbeth became the king of Scotland and Lady Macbeth the queen. They started living in the royal palace and expected to rule peacefully for the rest of their life. But it was not to be so. A constant inner voice started disturbing them by telling them about their wrongdoings. They heard this voice very clearly in their souls. They were so disturbed that they could not even sleep at night. Macbeth told his wife that he could not sleep at night since there was a constant voice in his soul that he had killed the innocent king. Lady Macbeth too said that she had the same experience. They thought that it was the evil spirit of the dead Duncan that was disturbing them. They decided to move out of their palace and go to live in the city. But they found no peace even in the city. Lady Macbeth was seen washing her hands several times as if to wash the blood of Duncan. She had gone mad. On the other hand, the king was terribly frightened whenever he saw a dagger or blood. One night he took a sword and chopped off the head of his wife. Then he killed himself. That was the miserable end of Macbeth and his wife. If Macbeth had listened to her conscience and had acted accordingly, all this would not have happened. Therefore, we should always act as per the guidelines given by our conscience. So, from this incident, we learned if your inner voice can criticize you, then it can motivate you too. Use your inner voice to build you up, not put you down. Thank you.